What's up, guys? I'm Mike with the Wow Look at Us Now podcast.
I'm Rochelle.
And this is Shon. Shon is the guy who runs everything in here, down to painting and getting this room all together. He does all the Sunday service stuff, like as far as making the videos live, taking care of all the camera angles.
Lights, camera, action.
All the stuff.
That's what you got to fill in.
Well, thanks for being with us, Shon.
You're very welcome.
Is it so weird to be on this
I
side?
am so nervous now. I'm in here all the time, and now all of a sudden I'm nervous.
I'm so nervous now.
I
Yeah, that's
love it.
exactly where we want
I
him.
love it.
No, that's so funny.
It's
actually.
cool to see things
It's
from a
really
different
not.
angle.
I do. The very first one that we were on, obviously, it was worse when you knew that they were like video.
Right.
But you get so used to it after a short time. You're really like, okay, after the conversation goes, you're really like, it's just chill. Like, you're gonna sweat though, for sure.
Now if roles were changed, if I had to sit back there and make things flow, I'd be sweating buckets. I'd be like,
what do I do? I'm panicking.
what does this button do? There's so
Panic.
many of them.
Oh, that's so funny. So we're gonna talk about atheism. I really wanted to make this super uncomfortable, and I was gonna say with your former atheist over here, but
Might as well.
I
It's
just
going
really
that
want to
direction.
do something so funny. But well, I guess I already did. I said I wanted to do it. Well, there it is. So atheism is a disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God. I think, or of gods, but we don't say that. It's just of God. So give us a little bit of a background story first of like maybe life. I don't know how deep you want to go, but
I was basically raised atheist. Growing up in my household, we weren't allowed to celebrate in anything make-believe, like Santa or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy or Jesus.
Yeah.
I
might be a little bit atheist then.
a little
Some of the stuff I'm like, okay, we ain't celebrating this.
One member of my family was very, very spiritual. My mom feels very in tune with nature and outer space and all that stuff. And my other parent is very scientific minded. My dad, he's a very intelligent person. A lot of atheists are, but a lot of Christians also are very intelligent. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to be around family that were religious people. It was just, make-believe, basically.
Yeah.
And you say like atheism is a belief that there's no God. It's its own belief. It's its own religion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right into it. I love this question because I've never had like an atheist viewpoint. Like I always grew up in the church kind of thing, and even when I wasn't following God, like I knew there was a God. I knew He was there. He was listening. That kind of thing. So, I grew up learning about that relationship, and I don't know what it was like to not at least know of a relationship being there or something. So,
Right.
How did you transition from having no belief or no belief of a God to having a one-on-one relationship with God?
So, spoiler alert, I am not atheist anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really was atheist. I always saw myself as agnostic.
Yeah.
I would watch the arguments between atheists and religious believers, God believers, Christians, all kinds of beliefs, but I would just watch the arguments go back and forth endlessly.
Yeah.
Like one couldn't convince the other, and vice versa. So what got me connected with God, a lot of it was the little interactions I got throughout my entire life, basically seeds being planted by family, by outsiders, just by random people just sharing word or sharing testimonies, sharing personal experiences. Even though it did not, it never really made any sense to me. I did go to church once in a while as a kid with my cousin and with family and neighbors once in a while. My teeny years, my later years. But it was just so confusing to me. Nothing made any sense. Basically because I hadn't read the book, and I come in the middle of whatever message the pastor's speaking about that month, and so it was always really boring, and I just know a lot of people looked really serious when they went there.
It's like you sit down, you shut up, you listen, and that's it.
Pretty much.
Like, it's kind of like...
And I had a curiosity. Like, why are people doing this?
Yeah.
I guess that's, you set the example.
Yeah.
Why are people doing that?
Yeah.
Why do they say it's so much fun? Anyway, what started my connection with Christ, I don't remember what your exact question was.
It was, how did you transition from having no belief or no relationship to having a one-on-one relationship with God?
So my transition started in my early 30s, maybe late 20s, where I gave myself a mission to figure out, because I wanted a happy family. And I'm a people watcher. I love to watch families. I love to watch how things in the world work and operate. And I noticed that, atheists and Christian families both can be dysfunctional.
Yeah.
But then there are other families that are highly functional and highly structured and work very well. And so in my late 20s, early 30s, I set out to look for morals and values. What are morals and values? What are the best morals and values to have if I have a family? If I'm raising a kid, what's just the best atmosphere to have them in? So, I guess that started actually late 20s, just before my daughter was born.
Kids change you. That's for sure.
So I knew it was getting to the point where I wanted a kid, and I really wanted to find these things because they just seemed super important to me to have good morals and values. So years and years went by. I'd been watching people, Googling, because Google was pretty big by that time.
Yeah, still is.
And I did, I came up with pretty good boundaries and a foundation for family. And so when I was about 35, I was pretty comfortable with boundaries and all that stuff. And by that time, my daughter was already 6, I think. And I had started attending a church in Yonkala. And they asked me if I wanted to join their worship team. And I'm the type of person, if I make a commitment, I stick with that commitment. So I told them, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. I'll either say yes or no. So 2 weeks went by, and I called them up. I said, yeah, I'll be on the worship team. So I was on the worship team with that church for like 4 or 5 years. But in that time, a lot of things started to click because that's when I kind of started reading the Bible, and I was listening to the pastor every Sunday because I was there every Sunday on the worship team, which is funny. I wasn't really a Christian at that point, but I was on the worship team of a church.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how it works sometimes. You'd be surprised.
Well, that's like in every Bible story, like God uses people that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, that's
nobody would expect, he's not even a Christian, and he's,
It's pretty wild. So while I was on the worship team of the church, things started to make more and more sense. And I went through a breakup, and I got really depressed, so depressed that the typical really close to committing suicide story.
Yeah.
And I literally sat on the edge of my bed for 48 hours waiting for an answer or waiting for my mind to come back out of the heavy dark that I was in at that time. And after the 48 hours, he just completely showed himself to me. It was like my eyes just opened, and it's like I looked up. You have been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just waiting for me to open my faith and open my heart to him. And anyway, a few months after that, I wrote a little story that I wanted to tell the congregation, and you know, it goes back to the morals and values.
Yeah.
I was standing at the podium telling this whole congregation that I set out to search for these morals and values, and it's been in this book the whole entire time.
Yeah, that's crazy. When you really think that's how simple it is, because like I even still, even doing this and knowing my entire life, but like after giving my life to God, and it's been like 5 to 6 years, something like that. It's so simple. It's like if I have an answer, it doesn't mean that really should be the first place you go to, even though, and you know how simple it is, but you're like, well, it doesn't specifically say, you know, like all my answer, like exactly, but it really is in a roundabout way that's really in there. And knowing that you have to go to the Bible for that.
I have just been absolutely amazed when you're looking for answers, just opening up a page in the Bible, how many answers you get just by reading a page.
Yeah.
It just never ceases to amaze me. I used to listen. I'm really bad at reading. I'm really bad at memorizing, so I can't cite any verses or anything. But the audiobook Bibles while I'm working, oh man, that was just incredible. Like just
just hearing it be poured in.
That's why I like podcasts.
Yeah.
Because like while I'm working, if I can just have them going, when I like, there has been times, I ain't gonna lie, I'm really good at usually multitasking because my mind like has to be going. But like when I'm doing other stuff, I have messed up on work before because I was like, oh shoot, okay, because I'm listening to podcasts. But and he already did answer one of it because it said like, what's a significant moment in our life?
Second question. So it was what was a significant moment with God that changed your life? But you shared about that. Let's drop down to the next one. How did you feel about Christians as an atheist? Was that like?
How do I feel Christian? How do I feel about Christians when I'm a Christian?
Was that like? Was Christians like your number one? Like, because like everybody has a person or a religion like that. They're I don't want to deal with them.
It was mostly when I would go to like an atheist convention.
Yeah.
I would feel this hate. You know how people can stir up hate. But then when I would meet face to face with Christians, it never
was that way.
It never added up to what I was feeling at like these atheist gatherings.
Yeah. I
was in an atheist march once. It was a 2468 separate church and state.
Oh, and, that's good.
I was totally like, I don't know. You know, it made sense at the time because I'd never read the Bible.
Yeah.
I'd never.
You just listened to what they said.
Yeah. And like it stirs it up, and like they shouldn't be teaching fake religion, you know, in schools and indoctrinating our kids and all this stuff. And
in schools, whoa, it's the other way around. Not unless it was different back then, but now it's like the opposite. It's like take God out of the schools, and we're like, no, we need Jesus.
Yeah, I love it. A lot of schools, they're like, you know what? We can talk about it a little.
Yeah.
Like
There's a lot of teachers that I've noticed around here that are Christian, and they're like, no, don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still going to share. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. The whole, the separate church and state thing, I know now it was based on something different.
Yeah.
But the march I was in, they were like, get it completely out of the schools, and it's really weird. When your eyes are open, you see things completely different.
So but there's other people, obviously, that have this hate for Christians, the ones that are, like, doing these classes or groups or whatever. So
yes.
Is it because... I don't really know why, but I guarantee that it's either from childhood trauma or something they've experienced from a person that...
I still really don't understand why atheists are so against Christianity. I know that they think Christians are trying to run their life. Christians are trying to run the country. But, morals and values, right? We have a lot of time, but I can't spend time talking about morals and values because I don't have scripture pulled up and all that stuff. But a lot of it makes sense.
Yeah.
Why would it hurt to talk with a Christian if you're an atheist? I mean, most Christians I know won't try to preach or push things down your throat, and that was one of the fears that a lot of atheists talk about. Like, I don't want you preaching to me, and I don't want you to shove
Because
this
it's an
down your throat.
argument and stuff.
So I guess I look at it a little bit different because I don't know the Bible that well. I still have a lot to learn, but
Yeah, so do I. I grew up my entire life, and I still love the kids' stories. Okay, I definitely do. I'm like, wow, I actually didn't know that. Like when we had to do one of the kids' services, and it was talking about the donkey. There's a donkey that actually speaks. Baal.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that myself. There's a donkey that in the Bible actually speaks, and I heard it afterwards later on. But I was like, I think that's the first time I ever heard that story. He's like, you're joking me, and I was like, no, I'm dead serious. And I grew up with so I don't even. I mean, there's just, I feel like it's always an ongoing process. No one's going to know the Bible exactly, other than probably God, and know exactly what it means, exactly how he interprets it. And
But as a group, atheists hate Christians.
Yeah.
I am just one of the, I guess I'm one of the easiest guys to get along with, so I've actually never had a problem with atheists. I've never had a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door. I know some Christians have some trouble with that, and I don't fully understand it, so I couldn't argue either way.
I'm just a people lover, so I mean, it is what it is.
That's me. I'm a people lover, and
your person doesn't matter whether we have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. But I just, like a lot of really smart people are coming out now. Scientists are coming out now that have kind of lived atheist lifestyles, and now are going. It seems like almost every scientist that
starts going further into it.
Yeah, starts going further into it. They all of a sudden go, you know what? There's no other explanation. Yeah. And then they
heard
start.
doctors of doing that too.
Yeah.
Just being looking so far into it, because I used to watch YouTube testimonies all the time when I was doing the gym, because it would keep me motivated, because I would get distracted about how much time I'm on an elliptical or something. And I would look on YouTube and look up testimonies, and there was about a doctor, and he was going so far into it. He's like, no, I got to find this out. There's no reason for whatever, happened. And he gets there and he ends up getting saved by reading the Bible, because he has to figure it out. And I'm like, woohoo, that's so cool.
It is just, I love watching testimonies is one of my favorite things,
mine too.
Because just watching people's personal experience and the tears start coming out of their eyes. I love it.
So how did you find yourself participating in the atheism groups? Because I don't even know where you would find them or hear about them. Like, how do you know? This is an atheism group.
Look up a Facebook.
They have this hate club, yeah. How did you
you
even know about that?
I'm not get together.
Well, when I was in with the atheist groups, pretty heavy. I think it was before the internet was a big thing. Before Google was big, before email was big. So I think it was phone. You just meet someone that's part of the group. And then
they tell you about it?
Yeah, and then they keep you updated on all the events.
They bump you and they're like, hey, you like God? And you're like, no, I don't believe him. Like, yeah, me either. Let's have this group. I just think about how things would go, and I want to be like, hey, it's I don't know. I mean, I could be the same as A29 here. We're like, hey, this young adult group, come, it's so fun.
I guess
and that's how we brainwash them.
I still don't understand it. How
that even happens?
How could you be I can understand if you don't believe in a God, and you believe in how everything was made and put together. Of course, that in itself is a belief system. Because you believe it happened in a different way.
That way, yeah.
How could you hate God? I mean,
that's my thing, is if he's not real, according to what they say, if he's not real, how can you hate someone or something that isn't real
That's kind of,
without acknowledging
Oh,
its presence.
that's a mic drop.
and you know how they feed the anger and they feed the hate at the
Yeah.
conventions, and a lot of it was misquoting the Bible. A lot of it is, bringing up the dark parts of the Bible
And probably judgment
completely
a
out
lot.
of context.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, it's really hard for me, in some sense, to read the Old Testament because it's very judgy type, and I have to stay away from that for the most part because I grew up in a church, and it's really hard for me to break religion and feel like he's always pointing his finger and judging me. Like I broke that off, but I try to like still keep it in mind. So when I read certain parts, I'm like, nope, no, we're not gonna go here. We're not gonna go here. This is not what he's intending for. Like, yes, he's a righteous God, but like knowing that he's not just sitting there and like pointing his finger at you and saying like he's so mad at you, and
So going back to what you were saying about like they twist things, what do you think was the biggest lie that you believed, or what was the biggest twist that they said, oh, this is what the Bible says?
It was so long ago, I'm trying to remember. Well, one of my friends on Facebook, Bible says that you can beat your wife, right? And me not knowing the Bible very well, I was like,
you're you fact checker.
there's no way it just comes out and says that. And I Googled the Bible, beating your wife. I couldn't find... I found some darker things, but nothing on actually being okay beating your wife.
Yeah.
I found dozens of verses on how to love your wife,
Yeah, I was
how
gonna say
to love
it.
your husband.
Yeah.
And so
It's not a what.
Well, that's
it's
not
a what not.
Well,
to
I
do,
would
it's
just
a
go
what
back
to
to
do.
2 Corinthians. You like
Yeah.
love is kind, love is
Yeah, like it's not a what not to do, it's a what to do. That's what the Bible is.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is what you should do. This is how you should live.
And
This is-
I guess in my opinion, it can be considered like a cult. Cults can use the Bible for all kinds of evil things. I'd hate to ever think that our church is a cult. I don't think it is.
I hate to ever
apparently
think
some
about
people
the-
do think that this place is a cult. Around like Roseburg, Craig was saying that he's like, some people do believe this is a cult. I'm like, what? Like,
It's
no
probably
way.
because we speak in tongues and stuff, and they find it weird, and so they're like, "That's freaky. That's
That-
freaky
that-
stuff. We don't want that."
That could be part of it. Like,
Yeah.
How we
Which is-
worship, we're just crazy in
Yeah.
it, and like, I
um,
mean, we're not hitting people out of chairs, but
but not judging someone, loving somebody as Jesus would do. I don't see that being cultish.
yeah, yeah.
And I just, those are some really big factors that drive me in Christianity today.
Mhm.
Is loving people like Jesus would love,
Mhm.
and not judging. And I heard a pastor say that. Actually, I heard 2 pastors just today here say that they definitely want to focus this community and this church in that direction.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't seen anything firsthand that makes me think anything ill of Christians in this community,
yeah.
this church. I've seen weird things at other churches, but I'm not going to go out and judge them thinking that they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You see stuff on the news that's not good, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then
look at what this Christian said,
and
they're
then
like,
atheists will take the bad stuff that you see on the news and
Yeah.
say every Christian is like this.
Yeah.
Or they say, just like how they see the Bible and they twist it. They're gonna take maybe a hint of truth and twist it.
Yeah, I don't remember any like particular instances, but all I know is
I'm curious now.
almost everything that I saw and heard in like the atheist world, I just do not, like everything that they said happens in churches. I have not seen one thing in any of the churches that I've been to. It's just completely opposite.
Well, that's why I am not like an arguer when it comes to things. Like, I'm just gonna shut it down real quick. Like, I'm not even we're gonna have a small conversation. I don't think anyone's ever argued. I mean, people have asked me about God and stuff like that, but that's why I like talking about encountering God and experiences, because people can't say, no, that didn't
It's
happen
your
to you.
story, yeah.
I'm like, no, it definitely did. So you can't say, like, in the Bible, maybe you can question things, but I'm like, you literally can't tell me that God's not real in this because I experienced it. Like, this is something, like, and I can guarantee, I can tell you right now that there's things that God's speaking to you and you're not listening and hearing right now. I've done that to people, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah.
It's the miracles
Yeah.
that does it for me. You know, you put something in faith. Faith
Yeah.
was a big word for me when I opened my heart to God, and just putting it all in His hands, not having to run the direction of my life anymore, but
Yeah.
letting Him deal with it, or her, God, whatever. the new political correctness of God. And just witnessing the miracles in myself, the growth. I mean,
Yeah.
I overcame, I was never into drugs, but I overcame lying, smoking, porn, which you guys bring up a lot. It's just all easy with
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
The job that I hated, I would have done something stupid and rage quit my job if it wasn't for God.
Yeah.
God carried me through. God carried me to the end the right way. And same with my home. I was kicked off my property, and this was just after I found God. And I was like, I'm not going to blame the person kicking me off. He probably needs the property more than I do. Something will happen, and all of a sudden, I found out somebody was fixing up a house to sell. I call them. I get a house. I
Yeah.
bought a house. And I wasn't even worried about looking for a place to stay or rent or anything.
Yeah.
Like, the timing was perfect.
Oh, man. It's good to hear.
I mean,
I
I don't have time to get into it, but
Yeah.
but that's, miracle after miracle after miracle when you're really in touch with God and in touch with yourself. And I don't know, I wish I could really explain what it's like.
Yeah. It's hard to probably put in words, though.
It really is.
It's like a whole nother life.
Yeah.
It's a whole different set of emotions. It's a whole different set of feelings. It's a whole different set of mindsets.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think
And
about,
then
too. Because I can't even fathom doing that because I feel like every Christian goes through, even after being, sometimes, unless you really know, but everyone goes through a questioning phase, being like, is God real? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Like, you think, like, what if at the very end of this, you just wasted your entire life and you get to the end, for eternity and, and you're like, what? What did I just do that? Like, I've thought that stuff before because I've always been taught that.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, am I just following God because this is what I'm used to? This is what I'm supposed to be doing? But really knowing that I chose that for myself. Yeah, it took a little bit for me, but especially knowing that God was truly like there and real the whole time, but it was really hard for me to grasp myself. Like, I knew I had to figure out for myself, like, not just because like what my family told me or what I grew up around. I needed to know myself. And when I finally like gave up and let go and said, okay, God, if you can fix me,
So it seems
and
to
he's
me,
like, boom.
it seems to me like some Christians can experience kind of what I experienced. I had a lot of questions, and is he real,
Yeah.
or is he what atheists say he is? And so there are people walking around church with the same questions, but they have more tools than I had.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But so I guess the best thing I could say is those seeds that were planted
Yeah.
around me, and
Oh man, I literally love that. All I can say is because that's like my life. Like,
yeah.
I'm kind of like a drop in and go. Like, I'm not going to be, it's really hard for me to like, I am very committed to people. I do stick with people, but I just have like this part in me that literally is just like, you know what? Even if I have no idea what this means right now, if this is literally just planting a seed, like anywhere I go, that's all I know. I'm like someone, like I can't do it all by myself. Like I have to rely on God for the rest of it and just like hope, like me planting seeds that it's going to be that it actually makes a difference, because you question it sometimes.
And
like,
I also love doing the same thing because I came from that background.
Yeah.
I know what you're taught when you're an atheist is
Yeah.
to fear Christians, is to fear religious people in general. And so,
that's
since I know what they're feeling, I can walk up to them, give them a message that I'm just wholeheartedly felt to give them,
Yeah.
and then just walk away. And
I was literally just gonna ask you, like, how do you plant seeds then in someone's life coming from that?
oh man, it just feels like it happens constantly.
Yeah, because that's a whole
those,
different experience.
I was gonna say, you know what? I just was gonna talk about. It's so funny
And it's a lot
that we're
like she
talking
was saying.
about this. Like how you're saying, like people probably just you run into people, or God just puts in your path
Yeah.
that this just keeps happening. Like it happens
Yeah.
to me all the time. Like I
Is
find
this
it
a
so
coincidence?
funny
Yeah.
that all the stuff that I've been through in my life, people just I attract it, and they come to
Yeah.
me and they talk about it, and I'm like, okay, well, good thing, because I've already been through it. I've already dealt with it.
Well,
Isn't
that
that
kind of
crazy?
goes to. I couldn't explain it as well as some other people would, but the path that you were given in your life, God puts you in this spot for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
You might hate it at times, but at the when
Yeah.
things are happening, you're like, okay, this is obviously for a reason. Like,
yeah, and all the things I've been through, like I've experienced atheism, and I've kind of had a little bit of a passion of everything that I do here in this room. But then, everything put together, all of my experiences and relationships and just everything that I've been through, gives me that experience where that when it's time for me to approach people, then I
Yeah.
am the one that
Yep.
connects with
Well,
those people.
Specifically in that area, I was thinking about you the other day because I was working out, and my buddy, one of my longtime friends, who's like a little brother to me, I knew him because of my cousin, who's also my little brother. Like we just all grew up together. All grew up like my cousin lived with me for a while, and then he was over all the time as well. Well, I seen him at the gym, and I'm telling him, he's like, how are things going? Like it's been forever. I was like, I know, I've been seeing you since the wedding, and and we're talking, and I was telling him like, yeah, we're starting a podcast, and we're helping out with the young adult group, and it's just going really good. And he's like, yeah, he's like, that's good. He's like, his life was doing good, but then he like hits me with it. He's like, yeah, at work there's this one guy, he claims to be a Christian, but he's like, his actions show everything otherwise. He's like, he's like, and most of the people there are Christians, but he's like, I'm at that point where he's like, I have my reservations, but he's like, I have my feelings about it, and he's like, and that's all I'm gonna say. And it crushed me because here I am, like I started out like this is where
We're supposed to love our brothers and
yeah,
sisters.
and like I don't know, I seen he is like, he just seems broken, and I haven't been in that area. Like even when I wasn't living my life right, I knew God was there. Like I knew there was going to be a turning point. I knew, so I can't see it from that other side. And I was so broken in that moment because I'm just like, this guy who like I love as a legit brother would die for him, and he's hurt.
I know
over Christians.
that's one thing I've noticed about atheists as a whole is they tend to be a little bit lost. They tend to be hurting very deeply, and a lot of them may not even know it.
Yeah.
I mean,
there must be some sort of rejection from,
yeah,
because when you have hatred like that,
yeah.
there's for a reason. It's not just because they're saying that. Like, it's like the orphan spirit in you
But what's crazy is
from something in your life. It had
don't
nothing
even-
to do with it.
you don't even see it.
Yeah.
Like when you're on that side of it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you don't know
deceived.
you're hurting.
Yeah.
You don't know
You think it's
putting
life.
extra stress on your heart that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you don't need to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like, who are you?
Yeah. I was, but in that moment, I was like, man, I wish like Shon was here or whatever, just so like you could explain.
Yeah, but I don't
things
like
or
when people
can-
do that too, though, because I mean that's on them in the same sense too, because that's saying like, oh, because this one Christian guy or something acted this way, that means all Christians are like that. Okay, so then should I say? I say that like if
I've
okay,
seen
you
some-
act like this, then I'm gonna think all of you act
Well,
like
he's
that.
not
One
saying
man
he's
acts
not,
like this,
yeah,
all
he's
of the
not,
man.
He's
Like,
not saying it just because he said that whole company says they're Christian.
oh. Well, a
And
lot of
he's-
people say
and
they're
he's
Christian.
a welder,
yeah.
and it's like a welder trade, and they're just rough and
I've seen some people that call themselves Christians that
Yeah.
burst and just
Yeah.
completely acted out and
Yeah.
lost their cool, and that's also really hard to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you work with them too.
Yeah.
We're in this together, and we pray for each other, and we pray for the world as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you guys do your podcasts, because I think it's going to reach a lot of people.
Yeah, we just want it to be honestly like simple. Like let's just talk about like hard but simple subjects and
That it's like
make
everyday
it
life.
simple. Yeah, like let's not. I can't do. People are made for a reason to talk all these big words and
Yeah.
say things, but I'm like, you guys are speaking in ways. Churches for the lost and the broken and the hurting. They're not going to understand what you are going to say, and that's why they
Yeah.
do not come to church. Like I just.
That's
Why I can't.
Instead of just give me this long-winded message, can we just sit down and
Be real?
talk as
Yeah.
people and be real?
Yeah.
That's I would say
That's
that's
literally
my biggest
what
thing
my
in, like,
thing is, too.
outreach, is
What?
like, oh, you struggle with that? I'm like, me too. Or I used to. Or like, I'm fallible,
Yeah.
but God.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fallible, but God. Or this is what I struggle with, but God.
But that's why I specifically know, because I used to take it as like a bad thing. Like I don't know if I said on other episodes, but I used to take it like of me being a straight to the point, simple, tell you like kid Bible stories type of person. And I used to take that as a bad thing. Like, why can't I pray?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I have the big prayers? Why does my brain not work like that? Like, why am I the way I am? And I used to use it as like a bad thing. And then God literally spoke to me and like put me in the situation and was like, no, you're here for the lost and the broken. And you're explaining it in a way that they can understand.
Yeah.
Because you are saying, and I was like, okay, and now I don't feel as dumb. Now I don't feel like you would think I wouldn't have a bigger vocabulary being in church my whole life. But I just didn't like that because I didn't understand it myself. And I'm like, if I did that my entire life, then you're bringing people in that have no idea what you're talking about, and you're still doing that. Like, there is a time for it, and I think that, but for how I am, I'm like, we're just going to stick to this straight, simple, we're going to get it. We're going to get it.
One thing I was really afraid of if I ever became Christian, which I am definitely Christian, I was afraid of just being in it to look good.
Yeah, religion.
Yeah, religion. Like, if I look good to everybody, they're going to think I'm a good Christian.
Yeah.
And you do everything right under God, you don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to
Yeah.
look good to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're
love
right
that.
under Him,
No.
you're right everywhere.
Yeah, that's
love
why I
that.
wanted to do it too, like how you said. Because
And-
I'm like, am I doing this to do like religion because
Yeah.
this is what I grew up in, or am I going to do this for myself? And when I started breaking off the spirit of religion off of me, and specifically wanting that relationship with God, there's a huge difference, which we're going to
There
talk about
is.
in another, obviously.
Ooh, I can't wait.
We're going to talk about another episode about religion versus relationship, but it's such a huge difference. It's like,
It
because
is.
we both grew up in religion. Well, not necessarily. It's not like our parents taught us this and stuff, but like when you're a child, that's how you just perceive it.
Right.
Because you see what your parents are doing, and you're
Well-
like, that's what I want.
And I
So
think
you-
I think just with like the atheist community, they read something, they take it out of context. I 100% believe in the Christian community, they read the Bible and they take it out of context.
Well, duh.
Well, yeah, I agree. And who is going to sit down and research?
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of reading
Yep.
to start putting
Yeah.
the two and two together.
Yeah.
I did a lot of audiobook Bible, and boy, once I started, dude,
It's
it's
over.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's all the time. I'm always catching stuff, always learning.
New things. Yeah.
Really important. The Bible is important.
Yeah.
It's
I have to go on different. I go back and forth. Sometimes there's times where I have to like physically see it and read it myself, and there's other times where I have to listen to it.
There-
But I feel like I miss
Yeah.
too much because I like think, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't even get to hear what the rest of it was. But I know tons of people that do audio
Yeah.
Bible.
for me. It's mostly audio, but if I get to an area that's really hitting the spot. Then I'll pull up the verse on my phone and I'll
Work it
read
out,
it over
yeah.
and over and over. And it's like, wow. I should have brought a verse with me just to share for the fun of it, but I didn't.
You should have brought a verse. Well, I'm the same way.
An atheist
I'm
reading
gonna,
his favorite verse out of the Bible.
That would be the clickbait. It's like atheist reads favorite Bible verse. What?
That's actually really funny.
I love it. Well,
You gonna?
if you'd like to, you can pray us out. If not, no pressure.
I will.
Okay.
We're gonna have it as atheist praise for the first time. Just kidding. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Second clickbait.
I'm not an atheist. I'm not an atheist. I love God, and yes, there's no doubt in my mind. Jesus, I pray that your love reaches everyone in need of your love, just in the whole entire universe. You just have so much love to give, and there's so many people just lost, confused. I guess, you know, in all sides of things. There are confused people in the churches, confused people outside the churches. And it's not just atheists. It's everybody as a whole. It's me. I want you to encounter me and everybody around me and everybody in our community. I know it's time that you reach the hearts of everybody. And I pray that everybody will end up experiencing the peace that you can give within them. And in Jesus' name,
Amen.
amen.
Amen.